All right, folks, so this is going to go fairly quick because this is a review of right triangle trig for you. We are not going to do the whole thing through video. The rest of it we will do next class as a group. So don't worry about all of that yet. For now, we are just going to start off with just remembering, which we talked already about a little bit, but SOHCAHTOA. Right? So that's a good way for you to remember all of the ratios of the sides, which we already talked about this, but I want to just remind you that cosecant and sine are reciprocals of each other, cosine and secant, and tangent and cotangent. So easy way to remember that is they have opposite letters that they start with, so sine and cosecant, cosine and secant, okay? Cotangent and tangent, hopefully you can recognize, are reciprocals. Okay. Just be careful because it's always opposite hypotenuse adjacent to whatever they label theta. So they could actually switch up where theta is. Okay, some other special ratios you already know of special angles based off of the unit circle. They're just reminding you of some of those sides. Okay, something I want you to recognize is that when I look at the sine of an angle, or the cosine of an angle, let's draw a little diagram to help you visualize these properties. You won't ever have to memorize these, but they are special to right triangles. So say we have theta here, but they want the sine of 90 degrees minus theta. If you think about it, if this is 90 degrees, let's pretend like this is like 30. This is 90 minus 30, it's 60, right? So if they're taking the sine of 90 minus theta, they're talking about the other angle. They're saying the cosine of theta is the same thing as the sine of the other angle, which hopefully you recognize, because if you take the adjacent over the hypotenuse, that's the same thing as the opposite over the hypotenuse for the other angle. Okay, so these are just some special relationships amongst triangles. You don't have to memorize those. These you will have to eventually memorize, but I think most of us already have them. Just knowing that the reciprocal of sine is cosecant, the reciprocal of cosine is secant, and so on. They're just reciprocals of each other. And then an identity that we hopefully remember from last year is that the tangent of theta is sine over cosine. So the cotangent of theta is cosine over sine. So really quick review of those. Hopefully we're okay. Okay, so we're going to use some of these ideas to help us evaluate for our trig functions. So if we use the first example, it says find all 6 trig functions of theta. And what that means is they want you to find the sine of theta, the cosine of theta, the tangent of theta, let's do cosecant because it matches sine, secant, and cotangent. Okay, so first thing I would do is actually finish out your triangle. So if you know that 4 is your hypotenuse and 2 is one of the sides opposite of theta, you should probably find the adjacent side. So again, if you need to use Pythagorean theorem, you can. You just know what it is, great. That's a C, sorry. So if my a squared is not known, my b is 2, so b squared is 4, and then my hypotenuse squared is 16. That means that a equals 12 square rooted, right? I'm skipping some steps here. Subtract the 4, square root both sides, and then you can simplify it. So a is going to be, that's right, 2 radical 3. So this is 2 radical 3, which makes me assume that this is actually a 30, 60, 90, but you can't always assume that. All right, but we don't even care what the angle is. We just want the sine of the angle. Okay, so if I look for the sine, we know it is opposite over hypotenuse, so 2 over 4, and reduce 1/2. Okay, cosine of the angle is adjacent, so 2 radical 3 over hypotenuse, so radical 3 over 2. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so 2 over 2 radical 3. Make sure you simplify that and rationalize. Okay, so you're multiplying by radical 3 over radical 3, So you get radical 3 over 3. If that was too fast for you, just check back, make sure you understand how that works. The other reminder is that you can just flip these to make your reciprocal. So this is really 2. This is 2 over radical 3, but you want to rationalize. So 2 radical 3 over 3. And then cotangent is radical 3, because you can just flip this one. All right, so I would like for you to pause the video, take a second and try the next question. So again, they want all 6 trig functions for this right triangle. All right, folks, check your answers, please. So hopefully you got sine of theta is 4/5, cosine is 3/5, tangent is 4/3. So that makes this a 3, 4, 5, and then just flip all your fractions for the reciprocals. Okay, the next one, a little bit more challenging. However, I want you to see if you can figure out what to do first. So for this, notice that they gave you a decimal. My hint to you is think about what that would be as a fraction, and then that will help you. So pause the video, see if you can check this one out, and then we'll keep going. All right, so hopefully you notice that 0.8 is 4/5, and the cosine represents adjacent over hypotenuse. So my suggestion with these kind of problems is draw a triangle. So you can make your triangle based off of that fraction, because this is my adjacent over my hypotenuse. So then to find your sine of theta and tangent of theta, which is what they're asking you for, now you can just make your ratios. So sine of theta is 3/5, right, because this is a 3, 4, 5 again. And then tangent of theta equals 3/4. Okay, so take a second and again, pause the video, see if you can figure out the next one, and then I will reveal the answers. All right, so hopefully for this one you got that the cosine of theta was 24/25, and that the tangent of theta was 7 over 24. Now, if you had trouble figuring out why that works, you can always turn this decimal into what it is as a sound. So meaning if you say it out loud, it's 28/100ths. So that's 28 over 100, and then you can just reduce the fraction. Then again, they give you the sine value, which means you're given opposite over hypotenuse. So then you can label it that way and figure out your ratios. All right, the last few, I would like you, in fact, there's only 2 more. I want you to try the last 2 on your own, and then I will reveal the answers for you. I wanted to make this video really quick, so hopefully it is for you, but still pause the video, try the last 2 out, and then if you have questions, you can ask me when I see you next. All right, how did you do? So cotangent was 3, secant was radical 10 over 3, and then for the bottom one, cotangent was 1/2, and secant was radical 5. Now, if you had trouble getting these, just a reminder that cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent, so that means it's going to be adjacent over opposite instead. So adjacent over opposite. Same thing with secant, it's reciprocal of cosine. If you had trouble getting the radical 10, Pythagorean theorem, right? Same thing with this one below. Think about the tangent of theta as equaling 2. That 2 is really 2 over 1, so that's how I knew that that was a 1. Again, if you have questions at this point, you're done the notes for now, and then we'll finish them when we're together next. But have a great day, and I will see you next time.